Hello, everyone. Welcome back to EPT, English Podcast Time. I'm Jamie, and today we're jumping straight into an important and often debated topic, accents. Should we try to reduce our accent when speaking English, or should we embrace it as a part of our identity?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sophia, and I think this is such a fascinating conversation because accents are such a natural part of who we are. They reflect our culture, our history, and even the languages we grew up with. But for many English learners, there's pressure to sound neutral or native. It can feel overwhelming, right?
Absolutely. And that pressure is something so many people face. Whether it's for a job interview, meeting new people, or just trying to fit in, there's this lingering question. Should I try to sound different? Or is my accent okay the way it is?
It's a tough balance. On one hand, some people think reducing their accent can help them communicate better, especially in professional or academic settings. But on the other hand, accents are so deeply tied to identity. Changing the way you sound can feel like losing a part of yourself. Jamie, have you ever felt like you needed to change how you spoke?
Oh, absolutely. When I first started using English in formal settings, I felt self-conscious about my accent. I worried it might make me seem less competent or that people wouldn't understand me. But over time, I realized that clarity is what really matters, not perfection. It's not about erasing your accent. It's about making sure your message is understood.
That's such a valuable insight, Jamie. So many learners think they need to neutralize their accent completely, but in reality, it's about being understood. And let's be real, there's no such thing as a perfect accent. Even native speakers from different countries sound completely different from one another.
Exactly. Think about someone from New York compared to someone from London or Sydney. They all speak English, but their accents are so distinct. So why should learners aim for some mythical neutral way of speaking?
Right, the diversity of accents is what makes English such a rich and interesting language. And it's not just about geography, it's about identity. Someone speaking English with a French, Indian, or Spanish accent is bringing their unique story and culture into the language. That's something to celebrate, not hide.
I completely agree. And some people make the conscious decision to keep their accent exactly as it is because it's part of who they are. What do you think about that, Sophia?
I think it's a wonderful choice. Our accents tell the story of where we're from and the journey we've been on. Trying to hide that part of ourselves can feel like denying our roots. Plus, when people embrace their accents, it adds so much personality to their voice.
That's so true. Keeping your accent can even be a source of pride. It connects you to your family, your hometown, and your heritage. And let's not forget, it can also make you stand out in a really positive way.
Definitely. And confidence plays such a big role here. When you're comfortable with how you sound, you're more focused on what you're saying rather than worrying about every word. That shift in mindset makes communication so much more meaningful.
Exactly. When you stop overthinking your accent, you can focus on your ideas. And that's what people really care about. Your accent isn't a barrier, it's a bridge. It shows the languages you've learned, the places you've been, and the experiences that make you unique.
That's a beautiful way to put it, Jamie. And here's another thing to remember. Accents are completely normal in English. It's a global language spoken by millions of people, and they all have different accents. In fact, accents make conversations more engaging. Imagine how dull English would sound if everyone spoke the same way.
So true. And accents can actually teach us so much. Hearing someone speak English with an accent gives you insight into their culture, their first language, and even how they've adapted to English. It's like a window into their world.
I love that perspective. But let's switch gears a bit and talk about practicality. For listeners who want to improve their clarity without losing their accent, what tips would you recommend, Jamie?
Great idea. My first tip would be to focus on the specific sounds that make a big difference in understanding. For example, the TH sound in words like think, or that is tricky for many learners. But practicing it can help people understand you better.
That's such a good point. Another tip is to listen actively. Watch TV shows, listen to podcasts, or even YouTube videos in English. And pay close attention to how native speakers pronounce certain words. Try to imitate the way they form those sounds, not to copy their accent, but to understand the rhythm and flow of the language.
Yes, and shadowing is an amazing technique for this. It's when you repeat sentences right after hearing them, copying the pronunciation, intonation, and even the pauses. It's a fun way to practice fluency and build your confidence.
I love shadowing. And another simple tip is to slow down when you speak. A lot of learners rush through their sentences, which can make their accent harder to understand. Taking your time to pronounce each word clearly makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. And here's a mindset tip. Remember that your accent is an asset, not a flaw. It's a sign that you've learned a second or even third language, which is an incredible achievement.
So true. To everyone listening, don't let your accent hold you back. If working on certain sounds makes you feel more confident, that's great. But if keeping your accent feels authentic and empowering, that's equally valid. Well said, Sophia. This conversation has been so empowering. To our listeners, remember, your accent is a part of your story, and it makes your voice unique. Absolutely. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Do you think accents should be reduced for clarity, or should they be embraced as they are? Leave us a comment. We'd love to continue this conversation.
Thanks for tuning in to EPT, English Podcast Time. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you know someone struggling with this topic, share this episode with them. They might find it helpful.
We'll be back next time with more insightful discussions and practical tips. Until then, take care, and remember, your story and your voice matters.